Oh, this neck. Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm.
Gosh, you can tell. Take 1 week off, and I'm totally out of nick.
You are.
Yeah, I missed the thumbnail there off the intro video. Yeah, too late to do right about it now.
You could just put it up now.
I'll fix it in post. Oh, do it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you skipping through it again?
No, there you go. I think it deserves some.
Is that right at the pineal?
That is the pineal gland, Matt.
I get it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah. That's where it all gets secreted, we reckon. Anyway, enough rambling and waffling. Hello, willkommen, bienvenue. Konnichiwa, welcome to the Amish Inquisition, episode 397 on Sunday, the 2nd of November, 2025. I'm Phil.
And I am Matt.
Ben is in the pub around the corner having a dump. But never fear, because tonight we're joined by researcher and author RN Vooght. Rich, how you doing? Welcome back.
Voila, thank you for the invitation, gentlemen. Always a pleasure. It's been a long minute, right?
I think it's been over a year, maybe, since we last saw you.
It doesn't feel that long.
You've written 3 books.
In that time? Wow.
No, when did you write the first book? Was it maybe 5 years ago, something like that?
Crikey, in 2015, I published Devolution Cycle, which was a fictional tale.
Oh,
and right. Just to see if I could do it, if you know what I mean. Yeah, and then when I realized the profundity of what I found in the ancient Egyptian mythology of Osiris and DMT and everything therein, I kind of unpublished the fictional tale, because obviously I didn't want to sort of cross-pollinate stuff with, okay, this guy's talking about just random pyramid technology, this, that, and the other, and then all of a sudden he's trying to tell me that there's an alternate reality that might be a doorway in our brains, etc. He's full of shit. But I unpublished that and published Spirit in the Sky in 2017. Right. Deities, Myth and Tryptamines in, I think, was 19. And then in 21-22, I published the Searching for Osiris, part 3 of the current trilogy. And I've been a little bit lazy with fatherhood, parenthood, I should say.
Oh, cool.
I've got part 4 partially written, pretty much finished, to be fair. Entheogens in Antiquity. And I've just been a little bit lazy, to be fair, because I've been enjoying building Lego with my boy and teaching him a couple of Cruyff turns and bits and pieces on the football field, as you do.
Wow. So, I saw a wicked Marseille turn today in the under-15s that I was watching this morning.
Tell you what that is.
You've got to make the most of that time, Rich, because it goes so quickly when they're young, and you can't get it back. Yeah. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Crazy. And I'm sure you've heard, I mean, you dad yourself, are you?
Yep.
Yeah. You've heard it all before as well, when everyone says, dude, lap it up, because it just disappears. Do you know what I mean? And you think, yeah. Come on, let's get past the bait. Let's get past the nappy stage. Let's get to the walking bit. Right, let's get to when he's talking.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, before you know it, he's 7 years old, going on 15, and wants to sign for Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? It's like, Jesus, where did it all go?
Yeah, it's terrifying. It does. It's interesting how time speeds up as you get older as well. Yeah. Or I was going to say it's not time, but your perception of time, which I think is the key thing, isn't it?
Do you know, that's a wonderful statement as well, because I'm absolutely fascinated by the concept of time dilation. You're obviously familiar with the likes of Interstellar, the Tesseract at the end, where all time is literally a slide of an infinite now, where you can see into the past, the now, the future, everything. But yeah, it flies, and I think you've absolutely nailed it, because when I was a child, anyway, I'm pretty sure for yourselves, I mean, 6 weeks summer holiday can't go quick enough. When I'm trying to get my son back to school with all the parenting and this, that, and the other, taking time off, but it goes so quick. But when you're 7, 8, 9, 10 years of age, it's an endless summer for 6 weeks, you know. Yeah, and you I guess you hit manhood. I'm still waiting to get there. I'm knocking on the door of 50 this year, so maybe I'll get there later on this year. But yeah, certainly time it speeds up. It really does. And yeah, I think Ferris Bueller was pretty bang on the money. You know, my life moves pretty fast, and if you don't stop and take a look around every once in a while, you could miss it, man.
Do you think it's something to do with the relativity of perception and memory? This is my sort of thinking about it, in that, you know, you mentioned when you do the 6 weeks holiday when you're 4 or 5 years old. Well, in relation to your whole life cycle at that stage, most people don't actually have memories before the age of 3 or 4. So that 6 weeks is a large chunk of your experience, your whole sort of essence, your whole perception of reality. So as you get older, you're building this sort of database of time behind you and experiences. Often you can recall a memory from 20 years ago like it was yesterday. Not everything, but so as you get older, this sort of 6 weeks chunk of time becomes relatively small in the rest of your experience.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, how do we unpack that as knocking on the door of 50 and thinking, Christ, it's Christmas in a couple of weeks' time? And do you know what I mean? They're filling up the shelves with all this Christmas gear, and it's like, damn, man, can we have Halloween and bonfire night first of all? It's just like, it disappears. It really does. And in fairness, I should have got these. Well, I'm currently writing 2 books. I'm doing Entheogens in Antiquity, which is part 4 of the current Osiris mythology and everything therein trilogy. And I'm also building a book which I'm pretty much finished, to be fair. But again, it's just I'm enjoying the dad part of stuff. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather build Lego than build a book right now. I think the main subtitle, the main title of the book is Hallmarks of a Hidden History. And I think that I can't actually believe this book hasn't been written sort of 10, 20, 30 years ago. You know, everyone's on Twitter showing their little kind of commonalities between construction techniques from one civilized culture to another, that's, as the mainstream looks at it, that's potentially unconnected, has no real sort of ties, but they share the same building techniques, the same cosmological tree of life, the same belief system in what might be after this excursion that we call life, of a whistle-stop tour of 72 years plus or whatever on this planet. But yeah, I think this book should have been written a long time ago, and I'm looking forward to publishing it, to be fair. And I've enjoyed writing it so much. It's been very, very hard to find citations, I guess, because the world and his wife are kind of armchair archaeologists at the moment, you know, and you're seeing memes pop up left, right, and centre, and you don't know if that's been pulled from someone's book or someone's trail of thought or Facebook page, whatever it may or may not be. I'm trying to give citations where I can. But that said as well, it's kind of an open book. I'm sort of signing off at the end saying, like, if any of this is your own your own research with comparative cosmology, feel free to email me. I'll update the book, and obviously I'll get your name out there where it should be. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen often enough in this particular field of research, really. Sort of everyone wants to be the next Graham Hancock, I guess.
Or that Netflix show.
No, exactly.
Helps when your son works for him, though.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. But no, I think it's a mad time to be alive. It's we're digging up things like Gobekli Tepe. We've now got Armando May with the pyramid scan team with what's going on underneath the Giza Plateau, possibly with these new scans. They're using the same equipment across the Amazon as well, and just finding a plethora of new locations that were basically implausible before, but the foundations are there. Clearly there's got to be something underlying to a hidden chapter of humanity, and at the same time, while this goes on, just spitballing left, right, and center, we've got some kind of anomalous rock swinging, slingshotting by the sun, and everyone's thinking, what could it be? What couldn't it be? So what a mad time to be alive.
Is it 3L Atlas?
3I Atlas, yeah. 3I basically
3I,
stands
it's a
for,
capital I.
Yeah, because it's the third interstellar object that we've actually witnessed coming into the solar system from outside our neighborhood of 8 or 9 lonely planets. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of watch this space, whereas I'm watching inner space as well. So it all goes hand in hand, really.
I noticed that Avi Loeb was on the Joe Rogan Experience last week, so I thought, oh shit, there must be something going on with this rock that's coming. And I saw a tweet today.
Sorry, go on.
Saying that the rock, the object had slowed down to avoid perihelion with the sun and changed colour.
Oh,
it's now a bright blue or what have you. Crikey, speculation aghast. Do you know what I mean? Are we ever going to find out? Are we ever going to know? I mean, it's probably just a rock, as anomalous as it is. But who knows the trajectory? Crikey, like NASA have sort of come out and put their hands up and said, look, if we wanted to kind of do a whistle stop tour with the next sort of neighboring star with habitable rocks, then the course that they would plot would be somewhat similar to what AI Atlas appears to be doing, whether it's intelligent or whether it's just a cosmic coincidence. Who knows? I don't think we'll ever know. You know what it's like these days, crikey.
Yeah. Unless they do a hard right and come and land on the White House, Independence Day style.
Yeah.
So we've noticed you monkeys have been acting a bit silly recently. And maybe you need a kick up the arse to wake you up.
No, absolutely. We certainly do.
I suppose it's often said that one method of maybe enhancing people's spirituality or recognizing their place in the universe and how fragile it is could be the use of psychedelics. Would you agree, Rich?
It completely changed my outlook on life. Again, it's probably going to be my go-to phrase today, like a whistle-stop tour, but I'll touch on what we spoke about very, very briefly before in prior podcasts. Sort of growing up in the 90s, that's my teenage and early 20s. The rave culture and what have you. I was kind of pretty privy to what was going on out there. I felt like I'd kind of touched base with most sort of psychedelic molecules, whether they're man-made or whether they're naturally based, and I've got some random anecdotes about feeling like Spider-Man with invisible kids and stuff in Amsterdam, and can't believe the grown-ups can see me, and all that random was just silliness, and then obviously I guess 25 years thereafter, maybe not 25, 15 years thereafter, randomly working in the South American jungle with colleagues of mine for the European Space Agency. A friend of mine said, look, dude, we've had some mad conversations sort of doing these night shifts. What do you think of DMT? And I was like, okay, what's DMT? So the guy said, okay, we've got a couple of hours. Let's watch The Spirit Molecule. You know, Joe Rogan, he's just started this new podcast. Yeah, familiar with that dude, crazy guy, everything, X, Y, Z, let's give it a go. And yeah, it forever changed my worldview, to be fair. I was absolutely, I was childlike watching it, you know, everything was new to me. It was a whole new panorama. It was like giving a blind man a kaleidoscope, you know, and just going, bang, check this out. And it was very, very hard to compartmentalize and kind of break down. I was thinking, well, how come I've never heard of this? Especially if my brain or my lungs, my cerebral spinal fluid is producing this, if this is in me, you know, why don't we know about it? And what on earth is it doing inside us? If the stories are true that it's meant to be the most chemically potent molecule known to man, you know, bar its cousin 5-MeO DMT, which is again it's a natural substance as well. It extracted from the Sonoran desert toad, and traces of bufo have actually been found in the brain as well, which is kind of strange to say the very, very least. But yeah, with regards to not knowing anything about this particular mind manifesting molecule, it made me kind of sit up a little bit straighter and take life a little bit more seriously, to be fair, because my initial train of research, I always wanted to write a book with regards to your Hancock-esque lost civilizations, you know, but I didn't want to be singing from that same proverbial hymn sheet and just kind of churning out the same old, you know. As fascinating as that is, we have the Orion correlation as well from Temple and Bouval, which is absolutely mind-blowing. But again, why would they be doing that? Why do they want to draw our attention to this, you know, as profound as that is? But it was, as I say, it's when I actually saw I guess, a two-dimensional rendition of this chemical compound, DMT, that something somewhere in the back of my mind was like, okay, I know nothing about this, but Christ, that's familiar. That is so familiar to me. Wow. And I'm hearing people talking about the potential ego death and the resurrection thereafter, after the initial coming back from whatever this alternate mindscape turns out to be, you know. But yeah, it completely bamboozled me. And I think I said it to you guys before the last time we spoke. I had to I closed my laptop and went down to the beach and just kind of sat there staring up thinking, where on earth have I seen this? Where on earth have I seen this? And literally like a movie, you know, the proverbial clouds parted and there was Orion, and then bang, it literally punched me in the face. It's not a cold water challenge, just ice bucket all over me. I was like, that's Osiris. As above, so below, the acacia, resurrection, everything therein, you know. And I'm thinking, what could be more profound to last the test of time? Let's say, for argument's sake, I think it's longer, but excuse me, 5,000, maybe 5,200 years plus of ancient Egyptian civilized society with this mythology of a resurrected Osiris that then becomes a macrocosmic namesake portrayed on the sky as Orion, but is also symbolic of the lifeblood of the acacia and everything therein. And even the original myth of Osiris as well, which starts at a banquet. I won't go into it and bore you to tears, because obviously we've spoke about it before, but the entire process from, let's say, the initial Osiris being locked inside a wooden casket, tossed into the Nile, and then, let's say, being extracted from said coffin within the acacia which grows around it, everything was it's an extraction process for a psychedelic chemical compound that's found in nature, you know. And then all of a sudden, Osiris's wicked brother Seth hears that he's been rescued from within the lifeblood of the acacia, for whatever that was meant to mean, in modern day Trails of Thought. Egyptologists will still tell you that there was animal-headed deities running around ancient Egypt, left, right, and center. But quite clearly, everything is allegorical, you know. And if you decide to pierce the veil and look at these mythologies with a more scientific lens, the profundity of it starts to materialize, you know, with regards to why a myth has stood the test of time of 5,000 years plus. You know, it has to be something so outwardly, what's the word? Just profound, you know, something about the human psyche, the human brain, the human mindset. You know, why is it so important to remember this mythology that seems to be kind of repeated across the globe, albeit with different characters, just like the movies, you know, the names might have been changed to protect the innocent and this, that, and the other, but the nuts and bolts of the story is basically the same thing, you know, an entheogenic chemical compound that's extracted from the tree of life that we find is produced by the human brain. We still don't know where. I think we're getting a little bit closer to finding out where. But yeah, what does this mean for the next stage of our evolution, really? You know, and if these guys are kind of worked out a molecular structure and a psychedelic entheogenic chemical compound that basically catapults you, whether it's from my balcony to the other side of the cosmos, or whether it's just from my balcony to the end of my chair, and I'm getting literally a new ocular capacity to actually unveil what might actually be around me all the time, but I don't actually have the tools necessary to perceive it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's completely changed my worldview. I grew up with a mentality whereby, you live your life, and when you're dead, it's kind of fade to black. You know, there's nothing more. I'm not religious. I haven't been religious, although, again, I tend to think that a lot, if not, the large bulk of most modern day religions are built around psychedelic chemical compounds, you know, like the entheogen, the God within, you know, like the Bible says, God is within you, you know. And yeah, there's allegorical, I guess, breadcrumbs like Hansel and Gretel, you know, that you can pick up and kind of find your path through a darkened forest and actually get the big reveal of, oh my God, there's a location at the end of this. What is this all about, you know? But until you have that initial DMT experience yourself, I genuinely believe, and I might, I might be raping Terence McKenna's vocabulary here, but I genuinely don't believe that the human vocabulary or linguist has actually evolved. Yeah, has evolved enough to actually do the what did you see justice, you know. It's because when you're in the DMT mindscape landscape, like I say, whether it's a different part of the universe, cosmos, or whether it's right in front of me, who knows, we're trying to work this out. I'm sure DMTX this might come up in conversation later with the Gallimores of the world and your Strassmans of the world, but until you actually blast off and kind of, like Rocket Man, come back home as well, and kind of have a tale to try and build together, it's nigh on impossible to verbalize, you know.
I remember reading Jeremy Narby's book, The Cosmic Serpent, a few years ago. It's brilliant. You can't put it down. And it's not too long either. It's only 220 odd pages, something like that.
Yeah.
And he went into the Amazon to experience this. And one of the things that was really striking was the consistency of the experience,
Yep.
which alludes to sort of like an external force at work. If multiple people are having the similar sort of experience, it was the serpents was the big one.
No, that's it.
Have you experienced that, Rich?
I haven't per se met the so-called cosmic serpent, which is spoken about in quite great detail in Nabi's works. But the Ashen Inca tribe that he was working with as well are quite explicit when they're actually saying that they can. Crikey. I think it was Nabi that was asking the Ashen Inca, how did you come across this potential cocktail, this brew? Because there's like, I mean, the estimates vary, 50,000, 80,000 particular varieties of plant fauna throughout the Amazon, but you've used the root bark of one and the leaves of another, and you've combined these together for, let's say, an out-of-body, world-shattering life experience that will forever ground you in a love for Mother Earth, you know, and everything else that's around you. All of a sudden, everything becomes so almost not insignificant, but you can see what we're doing to the planet. You know, it's as if we're actually, I almost liken this to Avatar, if you know what I mean. It's not my favorite film by far, but you've got these blue beings that aren't realistically beings as well, because you've got the guy that's plugged himself in via the Matrix outside of the world of the Avatar, but these avatars plug themselves into their world tree of life again, which the root of everything there as well is just saying, look after us, you know. And unfortunately, 99% of the planet has absolutely no idea what we're doing to it, you know, yet it's talking to us. And like the Ashen Inca say themselves as well, the plants showed us, you know. They actually believe that they can see the subatomic realms that are actually around them as well, which to me, with regards to this as above, so below, macro, micro, 2D rendition of NN dimethyltryptamine and the myth of Osiris being Orion in the night sky, there's no reason, with, as far as I'm concerned, with, I guess, the t-shirt that I've gleaned from my own personal experience, I can see how and why they would say that, you know. As freakishly absurd as it would sound to drink a randomly disgusting number of cups of potions of shite in the jungle, that's literally going to say, right, you're ready for this, because, dude, trust me, you ain't ready for this. But when you come back as well, you at least I wanted to anyway. I wanted to literally hit the roof of my block of flats and just literally shout to the world, like, I get it, I don't get it, but I get it. Everyone's got to try it, you know, and everyone's going to be just as frustrated as I am trying to pass this experience on, and come back with just arms open, a bursting heart, you know, love thy neighbor and what have you. Crikey, I was never one to step on a caterpillar or an ant anyway, but now I'm kind of moving spiders out of the way so they don't get kind of stepped on. Do you know what I mean? I've literally got a love for everything now, and an overriding sensation of, I guess, what this world could potentially be, you know, again, going back to the Avatar thing as well. I mean, that was kind of a utopia, you know. They were living in harmony with their surroundings and their environment. They understood it. Their environment understood them, and everything was fine. And then along came the Marines, you know. Oh, fuck me, the tree of life. Yeah, we'll have that. You know, it's kind of sounds a little bit like the USA and the Middle East, you know what I mean, with the oil and what have you. It's crazy. But if we all potentially sort of, I guess, pushed aside the us v them notion of, I guess, Islam and religion and Christianity, and because again, everything is it's the same allegorical template. You know, they've all got the same ascension stories to a bardo, where they meet entities that are loving, that want to give you the gift of, look, guys, look, now you've seen it, go back and tell the rest. You know, you don't have to kill each other. You know, crikey, yeah. It's almost like I almost see the DMT realm, zone, dome, whatever you want to call it, as almost like a playground for souls that have inhibited a meat suit that I'm wearing right now, you know, but they're in this sort of cosmical soup of consciousness that's just waiting to be tapped into and kind of give you a psycho, just that little point in the right direction. You know, when you get that pit in your stomach, oh man, I should have gone left and right, and my stomach told me that, but I didn't listen. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I kind of think that is almost the this is where it gets a little bit nuts, I guess, if it isn't nuts already. But what I'm starting to believe or lean towards at the moment is almost, are you aware of Anthony Peake's research with cheating the ferryman and living life over again and over again, like a form of reincarnation, where there's a video game where he likens the likes of what's her name from Tomb Raider? She gets from one room to another and then she dies, but then she's there when she dies, she comes back and she starts back at the beginning, and then she gets past that room because she has a pit in the stomach where it's like, oh, don't go down there because that's certain death, go through that door. And then you get further and further and further in the game. Right. And his hypothesis is what he calls sort of cheating the ferryman. If you're not familiar with his research, I won't butcher it myself, but I'll put you in contact with him as well. You will have a mind-bending conversation where a lot of this stuff is extremely relevant, and it overlaps as well. It really does overlap.
Absolutely. What was his name again?
Anthony Peake, Peake. I'll put you in contact with him. Maybe you can cross-pollinate the same podcasts and talk about the same sort of thing, because it's so relative. But back to the gameplay, not the gameplay per se, but I've always had this sort of conundrum in my brain. Not who am I, but who's me? Am I the thought that pops into my head, or am I the ears that's listening to that thought in my head? You know, am I the voice that's giving me this maybe token of, look down that avenue, think about this, and let's see what we can find? Is that me, or am I the person that's listening to that information, as if I'm, let's say, the character listening to the game player, if that makes any sense? It's almost as if I'm tending to lean towards now as if maybe this is some kind of avatar, matrixy, very loose air quotes, simulation or holographic universe, whereby, as we understand, material nuts and bolts of everyday walking reality, the microphone, the blinds, the chair that I'm sitting on, it feels rock solid, you know, but it's essentially made up of 99.9 recurring empty space. There's nothing there. You know, when we touch things, we don't necessarily literally touch anything because of isostatic, I think it's called isostatic rebound, you know, where it feels like we're in contact with something, but there's an electromagnetic field that's constantly pushing away, you know, but although it feels solid, there's actually almost nothing there. And I'm sure you've heard the analogy before, whereby there's, give or take, 6 or 7.3 billion people on the face of the planet, yet the hard substance and hard matter that we call humanity literally fits into a sugar cube, which is, I mean, I just can't even comprehend that anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Bonkers, isn't it?
It is bonkers. It is absolutely bonkers. But again, if everything's made up of 99 0.9 recurring percent nothing. And let's say I live for 1 trillion years and want to walk through a wall, and that's all my job is for 1 trillion years, is to try and walk through the wall. There will come a time throughout that 1 trillion years where the atoms of my body will sync with that of the wall, and I can pass through it. You know, we're made of nothing. Everything feels solid, you know, but how real is real, you know? And it's when you come back from these profound psychedelic experiences on DMT, when you actually think, okay, this is a really, now I'm back. This is these are my arms. Feels a bit kind of clammy, feels a bit strange. Okay, I can move me. Oh, right, I'm back. Oh, shit, I'm here again. Because as mind-blowing as it appears to be in a DMT experience, and don't get me wrong, there's times where it's extremely harrowing. It's not a cakewalk. It's not a walk in the park. You know, it's not all going to be fairies, butterflies, and shimmering light. You know, almost like Star Wars when Yoda says to Luke, Luke says, "What am I going to find?" and Yoda says, "Only what you take with you." You know, and I really believe that that's true of the psychedelic experience. You know, if you're not ready and you don't don't get yourself ready for it, and you're not in the right state of mind, it can be one of the most harrowing experiences. Crikey, I've had a mushroom experience before with a very, very close friend of mine. But whilst we were roaming the streets randomly on these mushrooms, we came across some guys that, I wish to God we'd never met, to be fair, because these guys, they felt like the devil himself, you know, and everything around me it went from fluffy fondness and everything was just Mr. Soft. Man, ain't this cool? What a profound experience. It's lovely. And then it was almost as if like the curtain dropped and it went, dude, you have no fucking idea where you are. Get ready for this. And I had 6 or 7 hours of just literally wanting to get out of my skin. I wanted this entire thing to stop, but I was literally strapped into the Nemesis at Alton Towers, and that bad boy was going for hours. Do you know what I mean? And it was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. So yeah, setting. It's you hear it all the time. But with regards to psychedelics, I think that's more important than the experience you glean from itself, if that makes any sense. Because there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that in the 90s, when I was doing sort of some of these chemical compounds and bits and pieces, my mind wasn't right. You know, it was just, how far can you push it? What we're going to see? It's all shits and giggles. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, there's a lot of inner work to do prior to, I guess, dipping your toe into the proverbial waters of what's beyond. And then coming back and trying to dissect it all, you know. It certainly showed me a side of myself that I wasn't privy to before as well. And yeah, I like to think that I'm so much nicer. I'm a nice guy anyway, but I think I'm a better person for it, you know.
Wow. You know, in all your DMT experiences, have you ever had communication or an experience of something which you thought was maybe extra, like sort of a different intelligence within the experience, sort of like a non-human entity or intelligence?
100%. Yeah, 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that we are, this is where it all gets a little bit, it can sound woo again until you've got that proverbial t-shirt, you know.
I think there's no proverbial about it.
And again, Anthony Peake touches on this a lot as well. He like, there's one particular anecdote, and I can't remember. I think his name was Anton Bilton. I can't remember. Who was part of the original DMTX project in South London, in Greenwich. But the story basically goes, this guy's had a breakthrough experience, and he finds himself in. And again, I'm spitballing. You know, I'm trying to pluck the. I mean, again, I've not listened to the story for quite some time, but this guy finds himself in a completely alien environment, which he describes as almost like a landing or docking bay aboard a UFO, which sounds completely crazy in itself and absurd. Okay, but he's standing in. He finds himself literally appearing in a room where there's these beings that appear to be working on some kind of mainframe or whatever it is, and they look up and they see this guy appear in their peripheral vision, and they look at him like really questioning, and they say, "You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be doing it like this. Stop doing it like this. You're not ready." And then the guy comes out of his DMT experience. Okay, he then goes on to live his life for 6 months or 2 years, whatever it was. He then has a second DMT breakthrough experience. And lo and behold, he finds himself standing in exactly the same place with these entities working on this, call it a UFO docking bay, call it whatever you want, but whatever it is, it's completely alien to him. And this same sentient entity looks up at him and says, "I told you last time, don't do it like this. You shouldn't be here. Stop it. You shouldn't be here now." And then the guy obviously comes back out of his DMT experience. But my take from those two particular experiences is that quite clearly, whatever this guy has encountered has a memory of him. He's sentient. He's an intelligent being, you know, with memory of, look, dude, I told you not to do this, yet you've done it, you know? It's almost as if these beings that we're encountering actually have their own lives, or I mean lives, it's kind of throwaway. It's like there appears to be another realm of understanding whereby it's almost like one of these sentient beings doing their, I don't know, let's call it human earthbound DMT or whatever it is. Then they break into my room and see me talking to you guys on here. And I'm like, what the did you fucking guys see what just looked through my wall? No, you didn't. But then in 6 months' time, that same face looks through and I'm like, fuck, it's you again. And you recognize it. There's a familiarity there, you know? Because as harrowing as my initial DMT breakthrough experience was, and it sounds so throwaway again, because it's what everyone goes to. Everyone's heard it via your Dennis McKenna's and Terence McKenna's of the world, you know? There's these entities, these little tykes, these crazy little beings or whatever they are, just seem so outwardly gushing with love and passionate to see you, like, dude, you're back, as opposed to what that other guy got told, look, fucking don't come here again, you're not meant to be here, you know, like this is a particular part of this matrix that you shouldn't be seeing. But there's other realms of the breakthrough where there's littered with these beings that are just almost like blowing party horns and wearing like mad jester hats, like, woo, he's back. But the crazy thing about it is that they seem outwardly familiar to you and you don't know why, you know. You almost get their familiarity but can't work it out because your mind is looking at the objects they're showing you, which seem to be so completely impossible, you know. It's almost like, I revert to one of the final scenes in Interstellar again, where Matthew McConaughey is in the Tesseract and he's trying to communicate with his daughter, you know. He's seeing the past, he's in the future, he knows what lies ahead, and he knows that he wants to change it, but how am I, crikey? It's almost as if all time stops and you're privy to everything all at once, but you also feel part of everyone else's experience, as random as that might sound, you know?
Wow.
And there's an overriding sense of euphoria that you don't want to go back, like to three-dimensional waking reality on fucking spaceship Earth. Do you know what I mean? Because the panorama that you're witnessing and feeling just feels so right. You know, it's like, oh my God, this is actually who I am, you know? This is the source, you know. It's so bizarre, and it's so, your senses become so overridden with a sense of awe and wonderment that it's so hard to verbalize and compartmentalize and come back and go, look, this is what I saw. Because again, that Tesseract thing with Interstellar, it's like you're seeing objects not just in front of you, but you're seeing it from behind, from the inside, from out. You're actually that object itself, witnessing yourself looking at the object. It's so overridingly bizarre to the five senses that we're accustomed to, you know.
That we're limited to, you might say.
100%. But I think that because DMT is endogenous in the brain, it's in the lungs, it's in the cerebral spinal fluid, it's in the eyes, which is important with regards to Osiris as well, and the hieroglyphs, which denote Osiris's name, actually translate the feat of perception. I mean, that in itself is enough to sit up and go, okay, what the fuck does that mean? You know, let's turn the page and find out what else is going on here with regards to this particular mythology. Do you know what I mean?
I was listening to Danny Jones earlier in the week. I haven't finished it yet, but he was talking to an academic researcher at one of the US universities. I think he might have been Michigan, who he started off as a pharmacist in his career, and then he got into psychedelic research for medicinal uses, and they're looking, his current research is looking at some sort of inhibitor or enzyme that will be able to harness endogenous, your body-created DMT as a treatment for schizophrenia.
Oh.
Which I thought was really intriguing.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And there's a train of thought that schizophrenics literally produce more endogenous DMT than the everyday walking man, you know. And there's anecdotal evidence that may well be the case, you know, because they're actually seeing things, people that are not there for ourselves.
The rest of us.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Which is why I'm on the trail of thought of, a lot of people tend to think or theorize that when you have this potential breakthrough experience that you're blasted off, and it feels like you're blasted off, you know. It's almost like the Millennium Falcon with the stars. Do you know what I mean? It's like, whoa, and then you're there. But I don't think we're traversing the cosmos, Stargate, call it portal, call it whatever you want. I genuinely believe, and again, going back to the Osiris mythology, with Osiris translating as seat of perception as well, I genuinely think that it almost levels up our ocular capacity to see the broader scope of what might actually be around us, because visible light itself, across the electromagnetic spectrum, visible light only accounts for 0.0035%. That's not even 1/100% of the electromagnetic spectrum. Yet when you experience DMT, it's almost as if you're privy to more of that veil opening, you know, and you're seeing a whole new panorama of what might actually exist around us, which again, in my mind's eye, makes a lot of sense as well. If we are, although it feels nuts and bolts solid, we know that it's not. What is making up, or what is denoting the rest of this 99.9% recurring of the electromagnetic spectrum? Do you know what I mean? There might be slivers or slides of an ocular perception which might actually give you the tools to interact with other habitable intelligences that might actually be sharing this rock with us, but are actually beyond our initial scope of perception, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because if you sort of go with the evolutionary theory about how we evolved our senses and our sort of mental capabilities, they're all geared towards one thing, surviving and reproducing. And if we were all tripping on DMT 24 hours a day, we wouldn't last very long.
No.
You'd struggle to find a mate.
Yeah.
You struggle to look after
100%.
infants. And so our this whole process that we've been in for the last 200,000 years minimum, maybe millions of years, sort of pigeonholes us. It points us in this direction of survival of the fittest. And then maybe it's only in the last sort of several thousand years, or maybe longer, where we've had this sort of luxury, if you want to call it that, where we have agriculture, we have houses, we're not an immediate threat from predators and whatnot, and so we can start tinkering with the
old brain.
The old brain, yeah.
No, 100%, 100%. And why not? You know, it's certainly changed my worldview. As I say, I had, I guess, 35 years of my life thinking it was, just enjoy yourself while you're here. Then when you're gone, no matter whether you're hit by a car or you die as, I don't know, 100-year-old, surrounded by your family, it's just fade to black. It's fade to black. It's fade to black. And I was steadfast in that. You know, there was no shake in my mind whatsoever. I had no time for the religion. I had no time for out-of-body experiences or anything. Again, until literally that proverbial cloak or veil was kind of lifted, and I'm like, are you not even serious? Okay, so all of a sudden, the things that I thought were important in life become meaningless. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's so much more of an adventure here regarding the human experience and consciousness that it almost overrides. It's almost overriding the initial joy of life to a certain extent, because it's so frustrating. I want to know so much more, you know. And I almost feel that, as I said earlier on, I'm approaching 50 years of age this year, and I genuinely believe if I'd have been privy to the information that I have now and my own research as well, if I'd have been given those tools as, I don't know, fresh out of school or college, 18, 19, 20-year-old, I still believe I might need 5 or 6 lifetimes in order to try and get to some cohesive answer, you know? Because again, time is so fleeting. It really is so fleeting. And it's scary. It really is. It really is.
Near-death experiences are another category who experience this time dilation.
Yeah.
And there's an amazing story. I tried to get him on the podcast, but I've not been successful. There's a guy who had a salvia divinorum experience and basically went into a completely sidestepped into a new reality and lived a different life for 10 years where he was playing piano in a rock band. But interestingly, he came back to reality A, the one he left when he took the salvia, and he could still remember how to play the piano, which he couldn't do before. Yeah. And he was playing Bohemian Rhapsody because he was in a Queen tribute band on the trip. Explain that one to me, man.
Yeah, exactly. Did you meet Scaramouche? Did you do the fandango?
It's, in that story, it's always the wife and kids he leaves behind that I feel sorry for in reality B.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
imagine
absolutely
them.
Crazy.
What's happened to them?
Yeah, he lived his alternative reality for about a decade, and then he was on like a boat trip on a lake in the summer, and he fell into the water and thought he was drowning. Then he felt someone grab his hair, pull him up, and as he burst through the water, he was back in our reality, and he'd been out for minutes and had a seizure. Yeah. But for him, it was a decade.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a crazy story.
Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, eh? Wow.
I'd rather not. But the first thing I thought was like, you know, if I get some, well, I don't want to tempt fate or anything, but if I got some like terminal illness, or if I had some, I was given like, I was so long to live. I'm thinking, well, I want to take a heroic dose of salvia and just like have another life for a few decades.
Crikey. I know people that have got, I won't go into them, but you got your Dick Kahns of this world. You familiar with Dick Kahn, right?
No, I don't think I
don't know that name.
Okay. Very good friend of mine, and he wrote these books, DMT and My Occult Mind.
Right. Oh, Occult Mind.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
that sounds good.
crikey. This guy had done an article on Vice magazine, and he was kind of renowned for being, I guess, one of the most foremost psychonauts living today, I guess, because he done in excess of 600 DMT experiences within a year.
Wow.
Which is
2 a day.
Nuts. It's like absolutely nuts. It really is. I mean, the guy's he's bigger than mine. My kahunas aren't that big, man. Trust me. But what people like these are talking about as well is that they don't necessarily believe that they're being blasted off to some other alternate reality. And again, I apologize as well, Dick, if I'm butchering this, but from what he was trying to do, it was more of the pre breakthrough experience, which again I found extremely rewarding as well with regards to one of my next books as well, Entities in Antiquity. Excuse me, Entheogens in Antiquity, because he's believing that we're tapping into entities, or entities are tapping into our psycho-spiritual self, and that it's like they're coming into our realm and showing us things, as opposed to us going anywhere, if that makes any sense.
Right. So like they're taking the substance is like a beacon saying, come to me.
Yeah, you've nailed it. You've absolutely nailed it. Nailed it.
That's weird.
And I mean, crikey, some of the anecdotal stories that is spoken of with regards to this pre-breakthrough, like I guess a threshold breakthrough, where he's almost got 1 foot in the experience and 1 foot in sort of waking reality, but he's actually seen things moving around inside his body as if this entity was inside him, sort of almost taking away illnesses or potential problems, or it's almost like it sounds absolutely nuts, I know, but and again, I'm sorry, Dick, if I'm butchering this, buddy, but it's almost like these things are doing like an MOT on his body, as if to say, man, crikey, you got some bad shit in there, let's move that around. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't need all that shit. Okay, let's have some more of this. But he's actually literally seeing parts of his body moving. And I've got to be completely honest, if I saw that, I would probably never do it again. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But he speaks about having an entity experience where he's actually felt the entity within his own psycho-spiritual consciousness, his own self. And he's actually he's actually kissed his wife with an entity inside him, as almost to try and give him like this entity, this enriched human experience. And he was rewarded with kind of, we appreciate this. Now come and see this. We'll show you this now. Wow. Some crazy anecdotal stories, man. There really is. But
when you start talking about entities and being them entering in your psycho-spiritual realm, it'll ring alarm bells for a lot of people, because there are people online, and you hear them on podcasts, who question the intentions of these entities, for lack of a better word. And how do we know that they're on our side? How do we know they're not malevolent in some way? Is there a risk there, do you think, or what's your gut feeling?
I think there's a risk in crossing the road. Do you know what I mean? But I think I genuinely believe that with regards to whether they're benevolent, I think we're really in our infancy with regards to flirting with what this experience may or may not be. My main frustration is sort of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. That just, oh, well, I guess the 60s and 70s were kind of wonderful, but when you had the Reagan administration, where it was like just say no and everything was like demonized, it's like don't touch this, don't touch that. I mean, we've literally missed out on like almost 3, nearly 4 decades of profound research, you know. Imagine where the likes of DMTX would be with this intravenous IV DMT. Like, for the listeners that aren't too privy to the DMT experience lasts anything, give or take, ballpark figures from 8 to 15 minutes. It's known as the businessman's drug. Literally within 20 minutes of you coming down from a breakthrough experience, you're literally down to baseline endogenous DMT levels in the brain again. You know, it's like it's almost like taking a pill after drinking 15 pints of Stella and then going, bang, okay, now it's not in me, I can drive home. Wow. You know, it's literally out your system that fast. But again, I think we're in the infancy of finding out what this may or may not be. But the underlying profundity of the whole DMT research, in my mind's eye anyway, is that why is this inside us? Why is this in our brain? You know?
And it's not just in us. I mean, it's in loads of other mammals. It's in plants. It seems to be absolutely everywhere.
It's in almost everything. It's in almost everything. And the strange thing is, and I'm researching this at the moment, and God, I'm finding it extremely hard to separate the wheat from the chaff, whatever you call it. But as far as I'm aware, the only occupants, I guess, of the animal kingdom that don't produce natural DMT are insects.
Wow, interesting.
But the interesting part of that is the anecdotal stories of people having breakthrough experiences and communing with these all-knowing entities. Not 9 times out of 10, but a lot of the anecdotal stories regarding these entities, they appear to be mantis-like. They appear to be insectoid themselves as well, which is kind of, okay, so you're the only species on the planet that doesn't produce endogenous DMT, but you're the overriding factor of introducing yourself as an alien race of entities that look like a praying mantis. Which is no less scary in itself, because you obviously understand and know that when a mantis makes love to another mantis, it then just bites its head off. There you go. Do you know what I mean? So when you're looking at, I guess, a 15-foot tall praying mantis that's looking at you, going, "Don't be scared. Trust me, you're gonna shit your pants." You really are. You really are. But I think there's an overlap somewhere with regards to this species not producing DMT. Again, I'm trying to get to the bottom of it to find out how legitimate that is. But there's probably something there.
Invertebrates. So insects being invertebrates, they have no spine, so presumably no spinal fluid. If spinal fluid was the source of DMT, then maybe.
Sure.
I'm not a biologist.
As well. No. Well, you talk about that as well. I mean, an octopus hasn't got a backbone, but the amount of times that I've heard people that have shared stories with me, and I've seen this myself as well, which I'll touch on in a moment, that a lot of these entities appear almost like Medusa-like, you know, with like serpentine kind of... God. It's very, 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 very strange, like almost like an alien octopus, you know. And with the greatest respect to what's in the oceans that we haven't found out as well. I mean, I'm pretty certain that if I don't think aliens are of this. Sorry, I don't think that octopus are of this planet. You know, it's like they are super intelligent. They've got like a cloaking device and. Yep. Everything about them is just like it's alien. Do you know what I mean? It really is alien. But we see a lot of these octopus tentacle-headed imageries via the entity contact in the DMT breakthrough experience, which is why I think my part 4 to this search in Osiris and entheogens and antiquity. I don't want to give too much away prior to it being published as well, but crikey, yeah, why not? So you've got in Tiwanaku in Bolivia, okay, South America, we've got what's known as the Sun Gate of Tiwanaku, where you have an entity there, and this entity has these same tentacle kind of adornments all around the head, which ring true when you see one of these on a DMT breakthrough experience, but also on the Giza plateau. Listen to me. On the Tiwanaku plateau, there's the much famed. I might even have it in this book actually. It's known as the Ponce monolith, and the Ponce monolith appears to be holding a number of ritual. Where are we? No, it's not in this one, is it? Ritual objects, but we now know. Oh, are you there?
Sorry, yep.
Oh, there you go. But we now know that these ritual objects that this monolith is holding are actually used for ingesting crushed vilca seeds, which is, crikey, the scientific name for them is Anadanthrina columbrina, but basically it's ground down DMT snuff. Okay, so throughout the South American cosmology, they are deifying these statues, these entities that they're witnessing from a DMT breakthrough, and they're actually carving these things in stone for us to recognize when we, I guess, read between these proverbial lines again and have a breakthrough experience is using these same snuffs and witnessing what we're actually seeing. There we go. Okay, so you've got the same kind of tentacles that appear to be radiating from, I mean, the archaeologists will say it's the sun's rays, this, that, and the other. But again, if literally just across the way from there, if you actually bring up the Ponce monolith, you'll actually see the arms of this monolith is even adorned with the vilca seeds, that the snuff tubes that the carving is holding. They're trying to give us clues, you know. But on a threshold breakthrough experience, prior to my initial first breakthrough, I literally took kind of baby steps, you know. I literally didn't have the balls to go that third hit, you know, for quite some time. I would have one, maybe two, but every time I had one or two hits, every single time, without fail, within my panorama, what would materialize is the best way I can describe it is like, it's like an alien a jellyfish, but an octopus with tentacles. And although there's no verbal communication, it seems there appears to be some kind of telepathy where it's saying, don't be scared. Yet my overriding senses are going, what the fuck is that? You know, that's just materialized in front of me, you know? What on earth is it? And yeah, but when it's like having a poltergeist writing down on the sideboard, don't be scared. It's like, are you shitting me? I'm never going to come in this house again. Yeah. You know? But when you get more accustomed to this thing appearing in your imagery and appearing in your view, and it's you feel, sounds strange, but you feel this overriding love that it's got, you know. It's almost reaching out a tentacle and going, look, just take my hand, come with me, everything's fine, you know. But you kind of, you need to have a couple of brain tablets in order to do that at first, you know, because it's like that Rick and Morty meme, you know, like when I go and there's a portal there, and it's like, okay, cool. And again, prior to becoming a father, prior to becoming a dad and paying, like, all my attention is with Bodhi these days, you know. And prior to that, I was 10'2" on bulletproof, you know. I'd see a port, oh, fuck me, let's go.
Oh, hang on.
Now it's like, am I coming back? You know, I've got more to think about. You know, I'm here for my son. It's not just me anymore.
Is that Bodhi because of Point Break?
Oh, you know it is. and it's because of the Bodhi tree as well in Buddhist cosmology, because the Buddha was enlightened beneath the Bodhi tree, and we now know that the Bodhi tree was a form of acacia, and the roots of the acacia are rich in DMT. And yeah, just like all the other cosmologies, whether it's the Norse, whether it's the Mayan, whether it's the Inca, whether it's the Aztec, they've all got a tree of life.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to the same overriding cosmology of the myth of Osiris: as above, so below. If you look inside the lifeblood of the acacia, you will find something that will literally reflect the macrocosm of Osiris in the night sky, you know. And yeah, if you I guess you dumb humans work out a way to ingest this or up the ante with these endogenous levels that are actually inside you, then yeah, man, let's put your seatbelt on and get back on Nemesis, because this is a long ride, man, and no one knows where we're going.
I watched Point Break for the first time in 20 years on Friday night.
Did you?
That's a bit of a coincidence. That's a bit of a coincidence.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's why I got that's why the name just rung a bell. Oh, Patrick Swayze, Point Break. That's mad.
No, absolutely. In fact, yeah, it was Bodhi's mum, who I'm not with any longer. Excuse me. And she came to me with the name, and as soon as she said it, it was like, man, there's like absolutely no argument. It's perfect. Yeah. It's perfect, you know. And yeah, his middle name's Light, Luca as well. So Luca and Light. It's like Bodhi, Light, everything. I think that Light has an interacting and overriding part of this experience, part of the DMT experience. And I think it's all connected, you know. And in fairness, yeah, looking, yeah, I guess speaking sort of more third person or whatever, it's all for him, you know. It's like I grew up kind of blinkered, fade to black, school, get your results, yeah, get a job, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 mortgage, 2.4 kids, X, Y, Z. Yeah, there's so much more to life, man. There is so much more to life. And all I want to do is give my little man a grounding in what might possibly be. I mean, Christ knows. He's only 7 years of age. Who knows where we're going to be in 10 years' time? You know, we might find out that daddy's bang on the money. We might find out that I'm full of shit. But until we do the research, we're not going to know either way. You know, and it's a profound ride, no less. But I'll be extremely. In fact, I'd be more surprised if it turns out that everything's a hallucination. I mean, what is a hallucination? You know, I mean, we're hallucinating now. You know, it's just that we agree upon the screens that we're staring at. You know, it's a shared hallucination. You know, like Dennis McKenna says, it's we are drugs. You know, what else are we? You know, it's kind of, you know, why have we got these receptors in our brains that literally go hand in hand with psilocybin, with DMT, and they give you an experience that literally shatters your worldview, and it's not a worldview where you're going to come back and say, right, you lot are all fucking wrong, right? Let's bomb that lot, let's get rid of it. It's not like that, you know. It's like, actually, okay, I might not agree with what you're saying, but if you put your prejudice aside and we just sit down and have a little chat, and if you got 15 minutes and you're brave enough to have that first little toke on this, let's have a little chat, you know, and then all of a sudden we find out that we're essentially the same thing, you know, we're the same thing. Yet we go through life, I guess, with our TV dinners, watching the news, believing everything we see, you know. I mean, crikey, you've got what is it? Climate change, carbon footprint. I mean, the biggest lie of all time is literally hoodwinking a carbon-based life form that carbon's no good for you. You know,
Yep.
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, you know, and the footprint that we're giving, I mean, I think carbon in the atmosphere accounts for whatever it's like 0.004%. And then we've got our contribution towards it.
Yep.
And it's like, crikey, man, you don't argue over the insignificance of whatever's going to raise my taxes and that. But
that's the key. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, but while you guys are arguing over that and what have you, and you know, I want to find out kind of what this level up of consciousness is. You know, I want to find out what this next stop in this grand scheme of experience that I call life may or may not be, because it certainly isn't what my mindset was for 35 years of my life. You know, it's not fade to black. I'm absolutely convinced of that. 100% convinced of that. But trying to convince someone that hasn't had a DMT experience is almost ridiculous, you know. And I had a lot of people say to me prior to me publishing the second book of the trilogy, what was your experience like? And I felt like a fraud because I've never done it, you know. I genuinely believe that when people say that you don't find DMT finds you when you're ready, I genuinely believe that. I genuinely do, because yeah, I mean, I've lost most of it now, but I was pulling my hair out for about 2 or 3 years trying to tap into some sort of, where am I going to get DMT from? Where am I going to experience this? Do you know what I mean? But then when it came into my possession, I genuinely thought, right, okay, right, she's at work, kids at school, here we go. But I sat there for 6 months on my balcony, pipe in hand, ready to go, and I'm like, there was something in the back of my mind that went, dude, you ain't ready. You're not ready. You didn't. And it literally took me 6 months to go, maybe today's the day, you know, maybe today's the day. But there's nothing more harrowing than, I guess, having that second hit, putting the flame to the third one, and your mind's actually going, what are you doing, dude? You are dying. Really? Don't do this. Like, it's almost like every part of my being was saying, don't do that last hit. Don't do it, because you genuinely feel like you're dying. And science knows that. DMT literally tricks the brain into a death-like state of being. Yeah, science knows that. I mean, who wants to get on that Nemesis ride, like we're saying, and go, yeah, man, kill me? No, do you know what I mean? Like, it's so absurd. It's so absurd, which is why it's so hard to actually have that initial third hit and kind of go all the way, you know? But when I actually, when I grew the balls to actually have that third hit, it was harrowing, it was profound, it was frightening. I had the same Terence McKenna pixelated jesters sort of streaming through the window, just looking at me, literally falling into my face. And they were, when every entity hit my face, it was like a train on fast forward, and then literally hitting my body, going, now you've done it. Now you're going to see. Now you're going to see. Oh, you ain't ready for this. And every single part of me was going, fuck this experience. Let's get out of this. Sober up. But literally, it's like you're on a travelator, you know? But that thing's just covered in slime and ectoplasm. It's like, you cannot get me. Okay, I've just got to go with this now. Right, I'm on my ass. Right, show me. And yeah, it's very Clockwork Orange, you know. It's like, you want to see? Here you go, dude. Yeah, you ain't ready for this shit. And yeah, it's very, very hard to compartmentalize the experience. I wouldn't say I had any form of time dilation or anything. I would say it felt upwardly 15 minutes. Don't get me wrong. But I think I might have said this the last time we spoke. I'm not too sure. But for other listeners that are out there as well, I was genuinely convinced that when I came back from whatever this experience was, I was kind of sure that I was dead. And all I could do was literally pull myself up from my balcony. I picked up my phone. I phoned my editor, one of my best friends, and said, like, Adam, can you hear me? He's like, yeah, man, you're on the phone, dude. What the fuck? And I'm like, no, dude. Right. Do I sound all right? Is everything cool? And he was like, I think he knew where I was coming from, because his first words were to me, dude, you did it, didn't you? You did it. And I was like, yeah, but I'm just checking I'm alive, man, because I said, cut a long story short, I actually said to Adam, dude, I've got to get off the phone because I need to capture what's outside my window, because there must be some kind of my ocular capacity that's still got one foot in this DMT experience, because I'm going to send you a picture of whatever's outside my window. And he was like, okay, what the fuck? He's hung up the phone. I've put it on camera mode and I've put up my phone. Now I'm looking at a cylindrical, cigar-shaped, I guess it was, I don't know if it was gold, whether it was copper or bronze. It was so strange, but it was showing its face from the clouds. And it was looking at me going, we're always here. And I'm like, the fuck? I can't see you on my phone. And it's obviously there's no DMT going through the blood-brain barrier of my telephone. Do you know what I mean? But I'm literally snapping. I'm trying to get whatever. And yeah, after the initial experience kind of completely wore off, I'm flicking through the pictures in my phone. And there's nothing, man. There's just a clear sky, a couple of clouds, and nothing else, you know. But then I phoned up Adam, and I'm like, dude, seriously, trust me, bro. This thing was there. This thing was there, and it was telling me that it's always there, you know. And then it literally faded from view, and yeah, kind of pick the bones out of that, take from that whatever you may. But the kind of that experience actually happened prior to Joe Rogan's David Fravor interview, and David Fravor was the guy that was like the Top Gun pilot that had the Tic Tac intervention out in the Pacific, just off the coast of San Diego, you know. And everything this guy was saying was kind of, all right, mine wasn't white, but it was like an elongated Tic Tac, but everything about what this guy was saying was kind of, it was relatable. I'm not saying it was the same thing, but it was very, 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 very relatable.
Wow.
And again, I wonder if these things, these UFOs, these UAPs, call them what you want, are actually fundamental to planet Earth, but beyond our, I guess, periphery, our ocular tools of perception, until we up the ante of it, either endogenous or DMT from outside the brain, you know, when we're actually privy to the panorama of a larger picture that might always be in front of us, but just a little bit out of reach.
Well, I don't think I'm ready yet. I'm kind of a bit scared, intrigued.
Both, yes.
Yeah, in equal measure.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, it's hard to get your head around. And like you said, you can't explain it to people like us, Rich, that haven't experienced it.
For sure.
You can just give us a flavour, which I think you have done.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's been...
But what I find intriguing about these things as well is that crikey, I won't bore you to death of it in bits and pieces. I mean, we can talk about, I've just realised the time we've been going on for almost 2 hours already, but I'd love to touch or have another conversation regarding, I guess, Laird Scranton. Have you had Laird Scranton on your show as well?
No.
Okay, I'll have to put you guys in touch as well. Laird's so far ahead of the current curve of thinking, he's literally out of sight and lapping folks, you know, with regards to the Dogon cosmology and how they appear to be in possession of a pictoglyph system, which is mimicking what we see in a modern day astrophysicist's whiteboard.
Right.
And what their cosmology is talking about, an immaterial realm, about universes being born in twin pairs. You have a material universe, an immaterial universe, that kind of almost, they're intrinsic to each other's existence. And during, I guess, almost like the you're familiar with like the Yuga cycle and the golden ages and what have you. They tend to overlap during different time frames.
Right.
Almost like a vesica Pisces in sacred geometry, you've got one bubble of existence that might be material, one that's immaterial, then you overlay it, you have the vesica Pisces. Yeah, that might be what might be actually going on. And I talk about it towards the end of my book with regards to the UAP phenomenon that might be material, but it might also be immaterial, where we have overlapping Galilean space-time coordinates of what we understand in a theory known as brain theory, that has a higher dimensional bulk theory, which then interacts with everyday waking three-dimensional space-time. It sounds absolutely outrageous, kind of spitballing toward the end of a podcast, but the science appears to be tiptoeing in that direction. But the Dogon and Buddhist cosmology appear to be privy to this information anyway, whereby the Buddhist cosmology talk about their fundamental or underlying cosmology being imparted to them or bestowed upon them by a non-human intelligence, which in itself is kind of out there for a Buddhist cosmology. But the Dogon go one step further by stating that this information was bestowed upon them by a non-material intelligence. Right. Which wholly goes to an overlapping cosmology of twin universes, whereby one is a material universe, the other is an immaterial universe. One's expanding, one's contracting, and literally cycles of time, just almost like the grains of sand going through an hourglass, Scranton explains it superbly, almost like the let's say the sea life, where you've got differing zones of pressures, where different life can exist, where let's say the squid at the bottom are completely not privy to what's going on the top. You've got entities and environments that exist between, but just like when we get in a submersible, or even like space exploration, you have like these airlocks that kind of quantify the pressure and equalize it and balance, where you can literally cross from one domain to another, which is what the Dogon was saying about these immaterial entities that gave them their scientific understanding, which seems to be ahead of current day 21st century science, where there's an overlapping material and immaterial realm, that where certain time cycles of this Yuga cycle equalize, the non-material, which have no real that don't have a material way to act in the material world, if that makes any sense. But they have an overriding complete understanding of the nuts and bolts of what makes up the cosmos, although they're immaterial. And it's like, when we have this, it sounds crazy again, but when we have this this calibrating airlock, this pressurizing, there becomes this overlap, this vesica Pisces, where this
the veil becomes thinner.
Exactly, where it completely thins, and you're literally almost given given access to a domain that maybe only psychedelics will give you access to in a material realm otherwise, but it's no less fascinating. And I'll put you in contact with both of these guys as well, because again, I think their research goes hand in hand with mine, and I think that a lot of us independent researchers have that kind of puzzle piece, and it's just a matter of putting it all down on kind of one table, making the bigger proverbial picture. And I can't wait for that to happen, because the minute
go on, Rich.
No, I was just saying that the minute everyone kind of wants to be famous and have their sort of 5 minutes of fame, do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm doing this, and it's like, well, no, if we actually put all that shit aside and actually put our stuff together, we can throw out all the bullshit, put the science to the mythology, and actually work out what might actually be going on here, and find out who we are, where we've come from, and where we might be going. You know, because there's something extremely profound to this, as opposed to arguing for ourselves.
Well, on that note, I think that's a good message to end on, actually, Rich.
Yeah.
It's been fascinating, and it's been really nice to hear your personal perspective on all this stuff, you know, rather than sort of looking.
I appreciate your time, guys. Thank you.
Looking outwards at your like your big thesis with the constellations and the molecules and the correlations. It's nice to get more personal story from you. So. And personal experience. It's been really great. Really enjoyed it, Rich. So thanks for your time.
I always appreciate it, and we'll do it again, and we'll go a little bit more in depth with. I guess the final chapters are searching for Osiris, where I'm talking about this immaterial and material overlapping of time frames, space-time coordinates, Vesica Pisces, and the Dogon. Well, I think we'll have a better conversation once you've spoken to the Scrantons of the world and that as well. Do you know what I mean?
I'm friends with him on Facebook, but I've not read any of his books, so I didn't want to ask him on without reading any of his books first. So I need to get on that.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all there. I've got them all. I think he's writing books sort of 14 or 15 at the moment. But if you guys are actually in contact at the moment, he's one of the most approachable and most gentlemanly guys, scholars that's actually out there, you know, and I think you guys have a wonderful conversation. So definitely make that happen.
Well, on that note, Rich, I think we should let you go. Like I said, we've run over a bit, and but we really appreciate your time. And
always appreciate yours. Thank you, guys.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Folks, the links are in the show notes if you want to pick Rich's books up.
Yeah.
Amazon, or follow him on YouTube and Insta and all the rest. And we'll say goodbye to Rich, and we shall see you in 10-15 minutes for a bit of part 2, a bit of news.
Yes.
There's not been much news this week.
Has it been a slow week again?
Nope.
Okay.
All right. Okay, thanks again, Rich. Thanks for your time. See you later, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good night, Rich. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.